Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Rangers Review Morning Briefing. It's Tuesday, the 12th of March. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined this morning for the first time this week by Stevie Clifford. How's it going, Stevie?
Good, mate. Good. How are you? Hope everyone is well this morning.
Yep, absolutely fantastic. Another day closer, of course, to the big one on Thursday evening. Cannot wait for that. Rangers with the chance of progressing to the quarterfinals of the Europa League. Quite astounding, really, when you think about it, where Rangers were earlier on this season. They've also progressed to the semi-finals of the Scottish Cup, where they will face Hearts at Hampden on the weekend of the 20th and 21st of April, after the Jambos defeated Morton by a goal to nil. A late goal at Capello last night. Celtic taking on Aberdeen in the other semi. Your thoughts on the semi-final before we'll talk Fabio Silva, Rangers allocation being reduced to Easter Road. Lots to talk about, Stevie, but first of all, the Scottish Cup semi, happy with the draw?
I think anybody, Derek, if it was Aberdeen, or if it was Hearts, if it was Celtic, it was going to be tricky. They all come with their own kind of obstacles, don't they? So I would probably have preferred Hearts to play Celtic, given that Hearts have beaten them a couple of times this season and seem to have their number at the moment. That might have been better. But then we would have had Aberdeen, who would have played it like it was a World Cup final as well. So everyone kind of comes with it. But it sets it up for the grandstand. We could be potentially going for a treble. They could be going for a double on the last game of the season. So if it goes that way, it's certainly a kind of showcase for the season, that's for sure. But I was delighted with Sunday night, Derek. I thought it was a difficult potential banana skin on the back of Thursday, on the back of Benfica. Players obviously knackered and stuff, and I thought they did a thoroughly professional job. So I was delighted to get the win there and get, moving, as you said, closer to Thursday, which is going to be huge.
Yep, Raymond Clark with the point sums it up. Morning, everyone. Tough game in the semi, regardless. No more injuries, please. Yeah, yes, here. Rangers taking on Hearts, a game to look forward to next month. We'll touch on Fabio Silva first of all before we mention events at Easter Road. He of course scored the second goal, well taken goal. On Sunday, Stevie. He was speaking after the game as well. Says that he said that I'm loving being here. I don't control these things 100% about possibly extending his stay at Ibrox. It's not 100% my decision to stay. If it was up to me, then maybe yes, but I could say yes. And then you have a lot of things still to be taken care of. Perhaps I have the least input into whether I stay here, but we have 2 months to enjoy the football, to win titles. And I think after that, if we win trophies and everything goes well, Rangers and I will do everything for me to stay. When you see me playing with a smile on my face, I think everyone's going the right way. I enjoy playing here, playing for the fans, the staff, my teammates. It's a pleasure to be here. I enjoy it a lot. I've been trying to get my happiness back, and they're giving me that. Music to my ears, hearing that, Stevie, from Fabio Silva. I think he's been good. He's slowly integrating himself now into the way that Philip Clement wants to play. We've seen him playing over on the left-hand side in the two recent games, and I thought we've seen probably his best performances in a Rangers jersey. About extending that stay, though, let's be real. Rangers cannot afford to bring him in on a permanent basis. However, do you think a possibility of another loan, perhaps? Would you like to see him stay past this season?
Oh, I would say as the last couple of games from the left, I think he's done all right, hasn't he? So he certainly looked fired up in Benfica, and I thought he was okay the other night as well. So, like you said, Derek, it's been a kind of slow integration into things, isn't it? So I think now that he's actually hitting form, he's becoming a bit of a kind of weapon as such for us from the left-hand side. So given the amount of injuries we've had as well, it's probably timed perfection with regards to him hitting a wee bit of form from out there. So would I like to see him stay? I'm you, like, permanently. I don't think so. I don't think we can afford that kind of transfer fee. I don't think that's shocking to say that. 35 million is maybe a bit out of our price range. Could he maybe stay for another loan? It's a bit like the SEMA one, isn't it? We'd probably like both of them to stay if we could extend their loans. Just need to really wait and see what the manager says, don't we? So I'm for it. I don't mind it. I think he's doing okay at the moment. I don't want to get too high or too low with him. There's sometimes I see him and I think he's not on it today at all. And then there's other times, like the last couple of games, where I'm thinking he looks okay. So from the left, I'm quite content to give him a wee shot out there and continue his form. I think he's done well these last couple of games to be like that. But I'm just a wee bit grounded, Derek. Put a lot of pressure on new guys coming in. Diamandi, I thought, looked really good the other day as well. Wins a lot of tackles, like retrieves a lot of balls and stuff like that. And, there's sometimes, again, where you see him and you think he looks cracking, and then other times you see him and perhaps giving the ball away a wee bit loosely and stuff like that as well. So it's a work in progress, I think. That's what you get when you get youngsters signing players that are kind of still building up to where we really want them to be. If you gave me the chance of him to stay, I don't think I would argue too much. But there's a long way to go in the season, Derek, that could shape our kind of thoughts on that as well. But he's certainly done well enough the last couple of games to deserve the credit, that's for sure.
Yeah, there's a great piece on the website, folks, from Chris on Fabio Silva and how he's coming into form just at the right time. You've got to say over on that left-hand side. I'd imagine he'll be playing there on Thursday evening as well against Benfica, but it looks like he's enjoying his football. He's had a difficult time, of course, at Wolves, had that loan spell at PSV last season, played predominantly over on that left-hand side also. So, good to see him enjoying his football. Like many of the first-team squad under the manager, he's really got them playing for not only him, but for the fans as well, and they're all playing with a smile on their faces. Francis, just with the point as well, just on the loan. I think it would have to be another loan, yeah, absolutely. Rangers cannot afford 35. Well, listen, Wolves will not be getting £35 million when they come to sell Fabio Silva. It's been a bit of a costly signing for him. Who's to say if he progresses between now and the end of the season, Wolves might be thinking give him another chance at Molineux. But as long as he's doing the business for Rangers, then I'm sure we'll all be happy with that. Just on that, we had a Q&A show yesterday. Stevie was on the members channel, and someone asked if you had a decision between. I think that the comparison was if you bring in Sima or Cortez, you could only bring one in. Who would it be? There's a question here from Kieran saying, if I had to choose between Sima and Silva staying beyond this season, I'm 100% taking Sima. I'll get your thoughts, first of all, on that one. If you had to choose Silva or Sima, who are you choosing?
Sima, wouldn't it? Because we're basing it on a longer spell of form and goal scoring and things like that. But if we're extending both loans, I would like to try and see us get both of them. I don't think it needs to be a case of one or the other, but on the question, it would be Sima.
Yeah. And Cortez and Sima, I said Sima edges it for me. I would like to see both if that can be possible. I think I've seen enough from Oscar Cortez. I know he's out injured, and it remains to be seen whether we see him again in a Rangers jersey. But Sima would just edge it. But again, we'd like to see both. They're both creative players, Stevie. It's always good having players of that calibre at the club, players that get fans' bums off seats. But Sima or Cortez, if it was down to one, you'd be going Abdallah?
Yeah, again, it's based on a longer spell of form, isn't it? So it would be Sima. I'm like you, though. I thought Cortez was looking quite decent. I thought he was coming on to a game. Scored obviously against Hearts. We go to Kelly, and he was one of the dangerous ones in the first half. He had a kind of long range shot. Kind of gets an innocuous kind of wee strain at the back of his hamstring, and we think, well, it might be a couple of weeks. And of course, very Rangers, he's out for the foreseeable. But it's interesting. He hasn't been recalled, Derek. He's not a way back. It's not been a case of like that's Cortez done. We won't see him again. It's been a case of well, he needs an op and stuff like that. So. I wonder if it's 4 to 6 weeks kind of timeline. I don't know if we maybe do see him again. Is it longer? Is it 8 to 10 weeks when maybe you won't? But we haven't ruled him out, which is interesting. And of course, Sima, we were told when Sima got injured that it would be 10 to 12 weeks. Well, Sima got injured 10 weeks ago, and we know he's back out on the grass.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a potential that he could be somewhere around. I don't want to say, we maybe see him at a certain date and time because we haven't been formally told that by the club. But I'm hopeful that maybe on the timescales that they originally gave us, that maybe we'll be seeing him again soon, and we really need it. So Sema would be the loan that would stay, but with you, I think Cortez has looked decent. I think that Silva in the last couple of games has looked decent. So just I'm going to enjoy them while they're here, while Silva's playing, and hopefully he can continue that form. As for Cortez, I'd like to see that extended a wee bit more. And with him just signing for Lens and stuff like that, Derek, I think there might be a possibility that could happen. So it's a wait and see. But I think all loanees have done enough maybe to say that we could at least have a little nibble and see where the lay of the land is for next season.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Let's move on to news yesterday emerging following the win over the Hibs at the weekend. Hibernian have released a statement last night. This is what it reads, folks. It says, Hibernian FC condemns the abhorrent behaviour and chanting made by some supporters in Scottish football. Over recent years, supporters' unacceptable conduct has become rife in Scotland, whether that be through the use of pyrotechnics, sectarianism, objects being thrown onto the field of play, or through other actions. This is simply not good enough. Understanding that the behaviour of certain sections of Hibernian FC's own support has not been good enough at times this season, the club has been taking the strongest possible action against those who behave in an unacceptable manner, working with Police Scotland and colleagues at other clubs. Hibernian FC now implores other clubs to act in a similar fashion and the governing bodies to take serious consideration into the issues to ensure Scottish football is safe and welcoming for all. Following fan behaviour and chanting from opposing teams this season, the club's board of directors will be reducing the away allocation at Easter Road moving forward, alongside taking further actions. Football is a sport for all, and stadiums should be a place where families and friends can come together to support their team. Hibernian FC prides itself on being a club for everyone, regardless of race, ethnicity, colour, gender, religion, creed, and sexual orientation. Everyone should be able to feel safe and comfortable attending a football match. So there you go. Hibs are reducing the allocation. I believe it's for the two Old Firm games. I think the Hearts allocation remains, Stevie. Yeah, bit of a blow for Rangers fans who head out to Leith for the games and always pack out the away ends. But if Hibs want to reduce the away allocation, I guess that is up to them. Whether they fill those empty seats, I have my doubts.
Yeah, you're right. It is up to them. And at least in the statement, Derek, they had the grace to acknowledge their own supporters, because their behaviour at Ibrox last time round, the chanting and throwing of objects. And don't forget, Derek, the other night, Rangers chanting, or apparent chanting, seems to have overlooked the fact that there was a vape thrown at one of our players once again, which the referee had to take off the park. So that seems to have been brushed alongside under the carpet, while we blame Rangers for absolutely everything that's going on in Scottish football at the moment. So they're entitled to do whatever they want. I get that, and that's absolutely up to them. But, this isn't just a Rangers issue or an Old Firm issue. This is a wider issue. Hibs were quite vocal in their chanting on Sunday night. If they're going to sing Lizzie's in a box and stuff like that, then where do we draw the line at saying, who's right and who's wrong? Because everybody probably needs to clean up their act a wee bit, I think. But I'm becoming a wee bit tired of the fact that everything that Rangers do, we seem to get the blame for everything. I'm sure we'll talk about the game in a wee minute, Derek. I'm looking forward to saying a bit on that as well. But it just seems to me at the moment, absolutely everything going on, it's Rangers' fault, and everything's a big conspiracy again. So, and it's funny because a couple of months ago, after that Old Firm game, and when Rangers went top, I don't remember this narrative being as loud as it is at the moment. So it's certainly interesting what's going on in Scottish football at the moment. But as for Hibs are completely entitled to do what they want. And I would say, look, our dealings with Hibs and fan media access and how they've treated us has been first class. They're one of the best teams to deal with. Yeah, one of the best teams to deal with in the league. So in fairness to them, I'll say it again, in the statement, they do refer to their own fans and stuff. So well done to them, at least for that. And they've got the right to say if they don't want people in their stadium, just like Hearts have done it, just like we have done it. That's up to them. But I wish we would kind of get to a point where, and I include our own stadium and things like this, where this wasn't the headlines. We're not arguing about the amount of fans getting in and things like that, because slowly but surely, Derek, we're kind of hating ourselves to death in this game up here, and it's becoming a bit tiresome. And Hibs didn't fill their allocation the other night. They were nowhere near full when Rangers packed away that way. And so if you cut that down, which they're entitled to do, it's only going to cost them revenue, and they're not going to fill those seats either. So that's their choice, and it's their prerogative. Absolutely fine with that, no problem at all. But maybe at some point, everybody could sit down and get together and maybe say, right, where we stand and go from there.
Yeah, you just went off a little bit there, Stevie, but we got you back. But listen, it's very unfortunate for the fans that travel in their numbers to Easter Road. But yeah, that away allocation will be reduced. Let's talk about the game then, Stevie, because Rangers thought were very professional on Sunday. 2-0, of course. Goal from John Lundstrom in the first half, following up a rebound after a saved James Tavernier penalty. Second half, Hibs have had 2 men sent off, a second yellow for Jordan Obita, and a straight red was shown to Nathan Mariah Welsh for a lunge on John Lundstrom 3 minutes later, as Hibs just lost their heads, and Fabio Silva made sure of Rangers' progression on 83 minutes. A very neat, a good move from him, cut inside and rifled the ball into the back of the net. But the big talking point over the last couple of days, Stevie, has been these sendings off for Hibs, and of course the penalty as well, which everyone could see was blatant, apart from one man, and that happened to be the co-commentator. But what was your big takeaways from the game?
First of all, Derek, it was a clear penalty. Dujon Sterling's got on the wrong side of Obita. And does Dujon Sterling invite the contact by slowing slightly down and stuff like that? And does he win it? Of course he does. And that's his prerogative, of being the attacker in that position. It's up to the defender, just as Lennon said, as Marvin Bartley said the other night, it's up to the defender to realise that they're not going to get there, and just to let the attacker go. When they continue to get so close and make contact, it's going to be a penalty kick. He's very lucky he wasn't cautioned at that moment in time. So the penalty, Derek, is completely fine. The comparison with the apparent foul on Martin Boyle, is ludicrous, because there's no contact in that at all. It's not even remotely comparable. And neither is Connor Goldson's moment in the second half with the striker, when he runs through and throws himself to the ground when there's no contact, when they're both kind of grappling, and Butland comes out and gets the ball. So the penalty is completely and that's the fault of Obita. It's not Sterling's fault. It's not Rangers' fault. It's not a conspiracy. It's the fault of the defender who gets it completely wrong. So that's point one, Derek.
Yep. Absolutely, and of course, the penalties a stick on, Stevie. The second yellow for Jordan Obita, I think, is a yellow. I think Stephen McLean made the right call with that one, and the sending off, which has got a bit of traction. I mean, he slid in. You've seen the still images. You don't even have to look at the still images to know it's a reckless and dangerous challenge, Stevie. You've refereed for a considerable amount of time. Are you sending off both players?
Yeah, and this is what I would say about it. The first one, the tackle on Tom Lawrence, is ridiculous. He's extremely lucky, I think, because it's just a Lawrence quite high. So it's a clear caution. That's absolutely fine. Now, he should maybe have already been cautioned at the penalty. He then shoves McCausland and the physio, trying to get them off the park when they were going off with an injury, which he could have easily been cautioned for. So he's clearly lost his emotions at that point, Derek, and he's told to calm down. Now, what I would say to everybody that's saying, and James McFadden said it as well, and Michael Stewart, that's never a caution. Can I just ask one simple question of them? If Obita's running in a straight line to get the ball and Matondo is back, has Obita's arms back, what is he doing with his arms round and back? Trying to block, trying to stop, trying to impede. If that's not a foul, Derek, then Why is his hands round there? And nobody would be able to explain that to me without me saying, well, it's an obvious foul. Alfredo Morelos was sent off a couple of years ago for a straight red for the intent of using his elbow on the Hibs defender in more or less the exact same position in the pitch. Funnily enough, and I checked, both commentators said at the time that that was a clear red card. I'm not sure why that this situation is any different. It's not the force, it's the intent of what Obita was trying to do. What is his arms doing there? Why is he trying to push his face? Why is he trying to block him off? If you try and do that, as weak as it might be or whatever, it's going to be a caution. You're stopping an attack, you're stopping a break, you're stopping an attacking phase of play, everything about it. There's no complaints from Hibs in the slightest. There's no conspiracy here. There's no nothing. And this is on the back of him already having a final warning. It's a second yellow card. The only person at fault, Derek, for that whole thing is Obita himself for losing his emotions and losing his place in the game. It's not Rangers' fault. It's not Rabbi Matondo's fault. It's certainly not the referee's fault. Hibs should maybe be asking their own defender, why are you doing that and behaving like that? Because see if it was us, Derek, see if it was James Tavernier or Redvan Yilmaz or Bornavasic, whoever at fullback, Dujon Sterling, our blame is looking at our own player. It's not looking at anybody else. It's yellow card and subsequent red on Sunday night is Obita himself.
Yeah, absolutely. He's only got himself to blame for that one. Stevie, can we have a substitution of mics? Maybe cut off a little bit there, but we're getting most of what you're saying. But yeah, we need to. There's an injury to Stevie's mic, but he'll go and change that, and we'll get him and more clear in a little while. First of all, we're back with you, Stevie.
Aye, sorry about that. You weren't missing good anyway. Don't worry about it. I was just going to talk about the second red card as well, Eric. I can't quite believe the furor about this. The boy jumps in 2-footed off the ground, and I've seen people trying to justify it by saying he doesn't make contact with Lundstrom, he only hits his back, he only hits his head, he doesn't get his feet. He's 2 foot off the ground. The intent there is there. It's serious foul play to endanger an opponent. That is what he done. He endangered the opponent by a total reckless moment. He lost his emotions. And again, I'm amazed at this narrative from Sunday night that Stephen McLean's helping Rangers and Rangers were winning 1-0 at the time. Right? So, and we're very comfortable. And for all this apparent pressure that Hibs had and apparent domination that Hibs had, Jack Butland had one save from a free kick. And yeah, they had pressure from a few corners. We have about 80 corners every game. It doesn't really matter much if you're not doing anything with it. So I'm confused, Eric, by the stance from Sunday night that, we needed help and we needed the intervention of the referee because we were winning at the time. And let's also go back to another thing. Nobody from Rangers forced Obita to put his hand back on Matondo's face. Nobody from Rangers forced the Hibs boy Welsh to dive in like a madman at 100 miles an hour off the ground, feet. That's not John Lundstrom's fault. That's not Rangers' fault. That's not the officials' fault. That's Hibs himself. Instead of blaming everybody else for absolutely everything in Scottish football, maybe people should start going, do you know what? See if our players didn't lose the plot, the referee wouldn't have a question to answer. Because just like when Sterling was sent off against Aberdeen, we sat here and we went over it. And we said, not sure it's a red because it's not dangerous, it's low, but he steamed in at 100 mile an hour. We both said it. We were both on. And you give the referee a question. We didn't agree with it, which is absolutely fine. He didn't win the appeal. It's no different with the speed and the endangering of the opponent to what that boy did. In fact, the boy the other night was completely worse. And Clement's right. You don't want a tackle like that. And by the way, see if that had happened down south, it would have been red and that's it. And they would have moved on and there wouldn't have been this outcry because that's the kind of tackles, the intent, the danger of the opponent that they're trying to do. I'm at a loss, Derek, genuinely, of how since Sunday night, this is Rangers' fault and the referees are cheating to help us. It was only last week that McCausland got booted off the park and the boy that should have been sent off in that game scored the winner. I don't understand where this is coming from, that the referees are suddenly helping us to do everything, because it's not true. Nothing that Rangers did on Sunday night was Rangers' issue. Hibs need to look at themselves. Scottish football maybe needs to open up and say to themselves, maybe if we didn't give away these penalties, these decisions, these red cards, then we wouldn't be asking these questions because it's not Rangers' fault.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not often I say this, but Stephen McLean had a good game at the weekend. The only decision I disagreed with was a yellow shown to Kemar Roof when he came on almost immediately. He was cautioned, but don't think.
See, on that, Derek, just on that, from a referee's viewpoint, I know why he did it, because at that point the game's beginning to slip. Yeah. And everybody's kicking and stuff like that. And Kemar Roof's had a wee kind of swipe at him. Not much contact. And it doesn't matter how long you've been on the field, if it's 10 minutes or 1 second. I understand why he did it. And from that point on, did he kind of get back control of the game? So was it worthwhile from his point of view? That's what I would say as an official kind of looking at it.
Yeah.
That's why he's done it, to get control of the game again and just to settle everybody down and just say, right, let's just get this back on track, etc.
Yeah.
I thought he did fine the other night. I think that some of the criticism over the decisions are farcical. You know, it's becoming a bit of a pantomime, Derek. Every time Rangers win a game, there's a problem, and it's becoming a wee bit boring. And those problems, incidentally, as I said, weren't there months ago when Rangers weren't top of the league and weren't doing well. So it was never a problem when Michael Beale was in charge, or going back further when Rangers weren't winning. It's a problem now because Rangers are winning. That's the only problem with this country and the way it's reacting to results and moments, is the fact that Rangers are winning.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't mind the pantomime stuff because it means that Rangers keep on winning. I'll take that until the end of the season. Robert Grant with a point, just left field. What about this stupid blue card? What's the situation with this? Gianni Infantino was asked about this recently. Not too sure if it was when he was attending the St Mirren Aberdeen game, but he says it's not happening. So don't worry about that, buddy. Huge thanks to Raymond Clark, who's donated 5 Rangers Review YouTube memberships. That is very kind of you, Raymond. Thank you very much for doing so. If you haven't joined the YouTube members, you get 3 to 5 extra videos per week. There was a Q&A yesterday. We did. We'll have the usual. We do the press conference reaction video, which we'll have tomorrow once we hear from the manager and whatever player Rangers put up for the press ahead of the game on Thursday evening. And there's generally 1 or 2 other videos that we post up as well. So, yeah, thank you very much, Raymond. That is very kind of you. This point here from Denzel, because one of the other big points from the weekend, Stevie, is yet more injuries. Denzel with an interesting point. He says, how do you think Clermont approaches training with matches so close together, Stevie? Light work in between games. I think they're doing probably, I wouldn't say the bare minimum, but with the injury situation as it stands, Stevie, he has to be careful with regards to workload, with the games coming every 3 days at this moment in time. I'd imagine it's just all about recovery, getting the players in the cryo chamber and getting them as near 100% fit as possible for the next game.
Yeah, it'll just be recovery, won't it?
Yeah.
I think that's mostly what they'll be doing, recovery, ball work, tactical work. I don't think there'll be many kind of moments or game time in there on the pitch. But from Sunday to Thursday, they've still got, a wee bit of recovery there from the weekend. Obviously, Sterling, McCausland's still troubled by that moment last week, and that's, it's obviously, I think, hit him on the exact same bit at the weekend again, so it's difficult for him as well. We're a wee bit thin on the ground all over the place. That's why we maybe, can't well return. Is Sima a couple of weeks away? This is all things that would be really helpful. Matondo coming back, whether we think that he's the answer or whatever, is certainly good because at least it gives us a body. He might even have to start on Thursday just because we're so light. If you think Silva, Dessers, who's going to play on the right-hand side if Sterling's not fit? Could Tom Lawrence go over there? But then you're taking Tom away from Ryan Jack's injured again. He plays 10 minutes in Benfica and picks up an injury, and it's just kind of never ending that way. But then you get an opportunity for somebody like Cole McKinnon, Derek, which I really like.
Yep.
And, could Cole come in and be, force his way in and be a really good squad player? Not every player that comes in from the youth. I've seen people complain about Ross McCausland and things like that. Not every player has to be Ronaldinho and make the club 10 million. But if you can get the likes of McKinnon and the likes of McCausland building up that home quota and becoming solid squad players while you go and, by somebody else, then that's the point of it. Because somebody was saying to me that, Ross McCausland's better than Scott Wright, but we need to sign somebody else. Well, that's the point. Ross McCausland would become second and pushing the first team player. It's our homegrown player. It's that's what we need to do as a club. So it's a great opportunity for Cole McKinnon. Maybe, there's a couple others that might be able to get an opportunity in there as well. So it's difficult with injuries, absolutely. And we're looking for good news with Sterling, I think, particularly because he's such a big part of everything, Derek. I'm hoping it's more of a cramp strain that he's felt it and just took no chances with it at all. But just like Cortez at Rugby Park, you just never know. And given our luck, we could bang our knee off the table and hobble about for a bit and everybody be like, "It's fine, it's just a bruise," and then the next day find out your leg's broken. That's the kind of luck we're having. Just need to hope that it clears up a wee bit and we get some back. And it was interesting again to hear Clement have a bit of a swipe about the pre-season and stuff that they've not done, and that's why they're picking up all these knocks. It's kind of frustrating that way, but we've got 2 months to really push on and kick on, Derek. And if you'd asked me way back in October, would we be in these positions where it's, where we are top of the league, doing really well in Europe, one cup in the bag and in the semi-final of another,
incredible.
I'm going to take it. You know what I mean? It's been an incredible run, and the players deserve every single kind of plaudit. The performance the other night of kind of John Lundstrom. Defensively, I thought we were very good. Jack Button, very secure. We Red Van at left backs, just a complete warrior at the moment, and this is what we need. So I'm in the mood, to defend the players with everything at the moment, Derek, and just get behind them and see what it takes us. And we'll need everything on Thursday night again, but I don't think there's any reason why, we can't go and have a really successful season as long as we take it one game at a time and just give it everything. I don't think we're favourites on Thursday night for Benfica. I think that's still a really tough game. I think they're very lucky that Di Maria is able to make that trip. But It is what it is, and it's an exciting game. Let Scottish football, pick off the bones of Rangers winning matches, and we'll just look forward to Europe on Thursday night.
Yeah, it's going to be quite the atmosphere at Ibrox on Thursday, a sellout. So you can imagine what the noise is going to be like. It's going to be electric there. And hopefully Rangers can do the business. It would be a magnificent achievement to reach the quarterfinals of the Europa League. They did really well last week in Lisbon. And like you, Stevie, I agree. It's still going to be a difficult tie, and of course no away goals as well, so we are level, but I just fancy Rangers with the crowd behind them. If Rangers can get an early goal in that game, I'd fancy them to go on and win it despite the raft of injuries. I mean, it's unbelievable that what Philip Clement is having to do with this squad at this moment in time to get them at this stage. It's I know he said he isn't a Harry Potter when he came in. I think he's even more magic than Harry. But long may it continue. Right, that'll do us there. Huge thanks to Stevie for joining us this morning, and thanks to each and every one of you for interacting with the show as well. It's much appreciated. We will be back. Just trying to think. Tomorrow morning, Al will be on with Chris, so we hope you can join us for that. Until then, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Bye for now.